Greetings and salutations, everyone. Welcome to the Founders of Durotar Podcast. My name is Mr. Dave, and I'm joined with...
Me, Skull Shorties. I am your host.
No box.
And today we're going to talk about the Dracthyr. So I'm going to give host back to the real Skull Shorties.
Yep, the greetings and salutations, everyone. I'm not letting you steal my only one line I've been saying since like 2017. Yes, today we're going to be talking about the Dracthyr, the new playable race for World of Warcraft. I honestly was pretty shocked when I heard the announcement that we are getting a new playable class and race for Dragonflight, but that's actually pretty cool and pretty nifty, and they are the first race since the Pandaren, I know Box is going to like this, that can play both Horde and the Alliance, which is also pretty nifty.
I love that, actually.
Because we've only had the Pandaren. I know a lot of people they were like, I want the Nightborn to be Horde and Alliance. I want the Sethrak to be Horde and Alliance. Nope, we get dragons.
I wish we got Sethrak, man.
Well, same. I think everyone does.
That's true.
But we do. But Scalies can rejoice. We are getting Dracthyr. I mean, we're getting. Dave is confirmed and not a Scaly. But yeah. So the Dracthyr. Let's go with our first question. We actually, I managed to ask some people on Twitter. And we only got like one question that actually was that sparked this whole thing, but we have 4 questions for today, and so let's get right into it with the first question. How do you guys feel about the Dracthyr as a whole? Their looks, their specific class, their origins, their playstyle, etc. What do you guys think about the Dracthyr? What are you thinking?
I can take this one first if you want.
Yeah, you go ahead, bro.
Go ahead.
All right, so let's get into this. So the Dracthyr are actually the thing I am most hyped about this expansion. I personally love it when we get a new race and a new class, and this is the first time we've gotten this since Mop, like you said, Ban. And you know what's a pretty cool thing? Jackalope, my fiance, has not played WoW since Legion, and she's coming back to play a Dracthyr. So that's something I'm looking forward to, is we're going to play Dracthyr alts together. I think they look pretty awesome. I like the different Dragonflights. Like, I'm definitely gonna make mine look like counterfeit Rathian, I would say, just because I feel like that's kind of like the path everybody has to low-key go. I like the Evoker class. I think I found out today, actually, or yesterday, which I thought was kind of silly. I thought they could only be a ranged DPS, but it's pretty awesome that they can heal. And I have not played a healer since the Burning Crusade. I played one badly in Burning Crusade, but nonetheless, I haven't played a healer since Burning Crusade, so I'm going to play my Evoker as a healer. Their origins being related to Deathwing is really awesome, right? Like, I think Deathwing was a character that, although he had a full story, there's more to be told with the guy, so I hope we get a cameo even from, like, his old voice actor, because he had a presence in Cataclysm that was, for the expansion called Dragonflight, it would be a crime not to have something related to Deathwing. The playstyle, I like how they look pretty mobile. I like the whole flying thing. Their wings are pretty cool. And the fact that they can both go Alliance and Horde is an interesting question. I think something that I'm asking myself is, where do I see them going, like... or why are they joining the factions, right? Because the Pandaren were ideology based. So what's the reasoning for the Dracthyr having to pick a faction? Are they going to have characters, and I know Dave mentioned this last time, from maybe Exile's Reach or something, interact with them and recruit them? That would be actually a cool way of incorporating those characters. But yeah, I hope they do. I don't think it's going to be ideology based, but I'm curious to see what their reasoning is and what their balanced thoughts are in joining either faction. Obviously, there's only one choice, red for the Horde.
Hell yeah.
But Yeah, Dracthyr overall are a win in my book. I think like before this expansion was announced, I just wanted something that I could roll an alt and just like have fun on like a Sunday leveling up or something, or after work and just chill out. And that's exactly what we got with these guys. I'm not going to talk about too much about like the next question asked by a Twitter viewer. We're gonna. I'll wait for that part.
Yeah,
I got a good answer for that one.
Yeah, we've
Antonio Jones, you rock, by the way. Just a little bit earlier than that.
Wow, way to spoil it. Come on. Yeah, the Dracthyr. I'll give my answer after Dave probably, because that seems to be how it goes. But Dave, what do you think about the Dracthyr, or in general, the question, the first question? Bleh.
Well, Skull. Box, I agree with you. I really like their origin. I like how they're connected to Deathwing. I think the Evoker looks pretty dope, and their playstyle is very unique. And I feel like there is a lot of like a lot of people probably don't see it this way, but I see it as having one race for one class. I feel like you can get really creative because they kind of mesh together. Because if they can only be that class, the race is gonna be built to fit that one class, and so it doesn't have to like expand all these other different races. And I think it's gonna be cool to see how, the Dracthyr play based on solely because of their class, and how Evokers play solely based on because of their race. Now I'm gonna be based for a minute. The Dracthyr, how they look. A lot of people are not going to agree with me on this. I like their humanoid form better than their dragon form. The Dracthyr for me, alright? Their dragon form, it looks weird, alright? I pointed this out in one of my other videos, but like, to me, if you were to put a Dracthyr next to like a gnome or like an orc or an elf, a tauren, I don't think it fits. Like, they don't look like they would be involved with like a group that is comprised of the races of the Horde and the Alliance. But if you look at their humanoid appearance, they do. They look like they would be involved with mortals and things like that. I will also say, to me, the Dracthyr, their dragon form, they're really lanky. They are really lanky, and I don't like how lanky they are. They remind me of like, the skinny Coltiran human. They have like those body proportions to me every time I look at them.
Yeah, I could kind of see that. Yeah.
Like, I think it's fine to have like, like skinny options, but I want a buff as fuck option. I want to be
same.
So buff, bro. I don't even care. It's like, I want to be jacked because you're like a dragon, right? When I think of like humanoid type dragons, I think of the guardians around Wormrest Temple, and those guys are buff as fuck.
Yeah.
Those guys are fucking like, those dudes are packing. All right, I wanna have my Dracthyr look like that. Okay, that's my take on it. I know people are not gonna agree with that, but
okay.
Still.
I mean, yeah, is that it, or, you got anything else?
That is it.
Okay.
How do you feel about them, Skull?
Definitely kind of a mix between both of your answers, honestly. I will say that I'm probably not as excited as Boxes and Jackalope is for them. I think they're neat, and I think they're cool, but, if they were to be like, alright, hey, we're gonna do more allied races, and they're like, hey, here's the Broken and the Mok'Nathal, or the Ethereals, I'd be more excited for them. But, in terms of, like, being able to play as a dragon, I like that. I like that aesthetic. I like that fantasy. It's been something that, like, as a role player, it's been, like, the forbidden fruit that you're never supposed to do. But, some people can do it, and I'm curious to see how that'll go out. Like you guys, I like that it's connected to Deathwing. I'm getting a lot of very similar vibes to both Death Knights and Illidari, or Demon Hunters rather, where they're connected to a really massive Warcraft villain. in terms of their origins. Like, Illidan had the Demon Hunters, Arthas had the Death Knights, now Deathwing has the Dracthyr, and it makes sense for him, because, like, the Black Dragons are, like, the experimental Dragonflight. They like to meddle in what they're not supposed to and create entirely new entities and beings, like the Chromatic Dragonflight, or weird undead abominations of some kind. Now, Farion did that a lot. He did it to his own sister and himself.
I think
No,
that...
come on, Skull. You're forgetting the biggest villain of all, Chen Stormstout in the monks. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, Chen Stormstout, he created the monks. I do like it, though, when you have a class based on a character, though, like Chen. So that's not a bad example either. This is also our first new male class ever. Think about that.
Ever? Really?
Ever. We have never... It's only been hunters and shamans.
Really?
Only hunters and shamans. Unless you really want to count back in the day when you were leveling as, like, plateware, you would have to wear mail. But, like, who the fuck counts that?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, nowadays, they don't even have that. They just go straight to plate. Like, all their starting stuff is just straight plate. So, yeah. That's true. Yeah, that's crazy. I never even thought about that.
We have never had a male class besides hunter and shamans ever. So that's a new thing that we're going to be dealing with. They're also more of a spellcaster class, which I'll be honest with you, when I think like dragons, I honestly don't visualize a spellcaster as much. But maybe it's just like I'm trying to think of like the dragonoids that are like guarding Wormer's Temple, or like the egg keepers or whatever.
I feel like
all over the place.
I really feel like they're gonna have some sort they said that they are like a mid-ranged caster, so it's possible that they might have like abilities that are like you jump in the melee and then you jump out. There's a class that in Final Fantasy XIV that does that, and they're kind of like a mid-ranged DPS. I think that's because it kind of fits the whole dragon aesthetic because of claws and that's being able to fly around and stuff.
I don't know, like you were saying, when I visualize when I want to play a dragon, I don't want to play I understand why they're giving people the option for that and why a spellcaster would kind of look that way, but like I want to be a chunky dragon. I want to be a buff dragon, just like you were saying. They did say, I believe in some interviews, that it is the tip of the iceberg in terms of customizations that we saw at not BlizzCon, but like the special event of them showcasing all of them. That there will be more options, and hopefully that means more buff options. They did say that that's an option that they want to do, so hopefully that means.
I want to be so ripped that my armor clips through my skin.
Fucking same.
Yeah. I want to be a Dracthyr that looks like that he took nether shards as steroids.
Wait, Netherwhelp?
Don't you dare! Not on my podcast. But yeah, I want them to look really buff. And in contrast to Dave's thing, I think that the mortal forms look ugly. I'm sorry, but like a lot of them, except for the Black Dragon one that they showed, like the one that looks a lot like a Diet Rathian, a lot of them just look really... Diet Rathian.
I know what you're talking about because I'm looking at the image right now.
Me and Box are both gonna make Diet Rathians. I can already tell. Imran, I already have my character planned. Imran.
Diet Rathian, there he is.
There he is. It's Diet Rathian with a beard. I just don't think they look that cool. Like some of them look cool. Don't get me wrong, but like
I think they fit more alongside of the other races than their like dragon form. Like, I feel like if they're dragon form, like if they're always in their humanoid form and then like for like a burst they go into their dragon form, I think that would fit really well. Because it's kind of like how Demon Hunter is with like their demon form. Where like you cast Metamorphosis, you know.
I do like that it's more like a Worgen form, where like you can turn into they've talked about how they want to toy with the idea of you basically when you go into melee form, you don't always go into dragon form. They kind of want to toy with that idea, I heard.
I think that would be
neat. That's gonna be cool. I I don't know. I don't hate the mortal forms that they showed. Like, they're fine as they are, but like, again, like if you like ask me like, what do I picture when I visualize a dragon turning into a mortal form? Do I visualize these guys? I picture more like Rathian or Alexstrasza, I guess. Like, these guys aren't far from it, but
I think we kind of gotta like take into the idea that these are like they're like a mixture between like dragon and like the ancient like humanoids. So like they're gonna look kind of fucked up.
I just think that
because they're like crossbreeds, right?
Yeah. I just think that the Dracthyr dragon forms to me look more appealing and cooler than these guys do. But
I think the dragon forms have a lot more potential than their humanoid forms. We would just have to see the customization.
We got to see the customizations. I think my favorite ones are the ones that have a little bit more armor on them. And that is one of the sad things about the Dracthyr form, they said, is that, like, we're not going to get armor on all of the Dracthyr's body. Like, it's going to be like the Mechanomes, basically, where I think they said the shoulders and chest and maybe like legs. I don't remember all the pieces on memory, but I know that they basically said that. So your mortal form with the elf or the human look, that's going to have the armor on it, but your Dracthyr form is going to have less of it. Yeah, but as long as we have a lot of options, I'm fine, I guess, with that.
And that's kind of why, like what you just said, that's kind of why I hope they're not always stuck like in their like dragon form, because
no, they're not.
One, the customization options are like really cool, and like I would hate to be like, especially in combat with like Worgen. Like Worgen, you kind of get away with because their other form's just like a regular default human. They're putting in a lot of work to like just the regular race for them to like always be in this dragon form in combat like all the time. I kind of hope that, you know, they can swap back in between them, or you can pick between being in this one or that one or something.
It sounds like they will be able to do that, but all I know, it'll be like the Worgen form at the moment, but I did hear that they're at least toying with the idea of letting you, like, when you're in combat, you'll be able to swap back and forth between the two forms. I do think that what they're probably going to do is going to be like Metamorphosis, maybe, where in combat, if you want to be in your mortal form, you'll swap into your dragon form to do like that fly ability, and then you'll flop, you'll turn back.
Yeah, that's what I want.
I could see them doing something like that. I like the idea that it's a permanent metamorphosis and not like a temporary one, because I think I'd be more upset about that than the reverse,
Yeah, I feel like giving people the option, because if you really want to build a lot of customization, a lot of people are gonna like the humanoid form better than the dragon form, and a lot of people are gonna like the dragon form better than their human form. Like we all are. We are all split on it. So letting people pick which one they get to be in most of the time, I think it's fine.
Yeah, I think so too. Anyways, I think that's a good way to transition over to our next question, which was asked by someone who has supported us, both Box and I, a lot. I mean, I'm going to give this guy the shout out he deserves. Antonio Jones, he actually gave me a year WoW subscription once, so over my reaction videos.
Antonio Jones, more like Antonio King, am I right?
Right? This guy gets all the praise. If he's watching, I would assume he watches our podcast because he asked this question. But anyways, Antonio Jones, the king that he is, what mortal forms for dragons would you like to see besides the human and elf ones that we are used to seeing? For example, more Tauren ones like Ebenhorn, or gnomes like Chromie, or like orcs, gnolls, or Pandaren. Something that we haven't seen before. I'll toss that to both of you guys as usual.
I first, if it's okay if I take this first, Dave.
Yeah, you go ahead, bro.
Alright, so I just first want to say a huge shout out to Antonio Jones. Like Skull said, he is one of the most like positive people like that we interact with like on Twitter all the time, and we always watch their content, so we really appreciate him. And this is actually a really good question, dude. because I wanted to bring this up in that first section about like the other races. I think a big missed opportunity with the Dracthyr is the fact that they can only be humans and elves. I think that's very I really like the Dracthyr, and I will play one still, but I think not letting you play like a gnome or an orc or a troll, or I would have actually probably played mine as like a Nightborn. I think that would have been pretty cool, but I think not giving players the flexibility to be like all the races pretty much as them as they are regularly in their mortal form is a kind of a letdown. I think it would have made them a lot better. Personally, the races I would have liked to see are like trolls, night elves. So I think they mentioned they were picked like an ancient Azeroth, so it'd have to be stuff that made sense at that point. But I think a good lore justification for this would be the Dracthyr can change their appearance and be who they want to be after they've discovered these races. So that's something I really hope we see more mortal forms for them. They're really cool, and like I think it would really sell the fantasy of being a dragon more. And the thing is, like, Blizzard doesn't have to make these crazy customizations for these races. Like, I almost would rather just be like a regular gnome or something if I was playing a Dracthyr. That's just my personal opinion. If they want to go crazy on the two box races, like the big box races, that's totally fine with me. But like, hell, if anyone wants to play a high mountain dragon, I think they should have all the power to do that. And I think Blizzard, like, I think the thing that's kind of rough about it is they're definitely recognizing that stuff now with, like, you look at, like, the new class customizations we're getting, and that they want to do, like, druids for everyone, paladins for everyone. So I say they rip the Band-Aid off now. Gnome paladins, Pandaren paladins, so sign me up for
Please.
that.
I beg you.
Give me my orc druids.
But I think rip the Band-Aid off now, make a lot of your player base happy. That's, like, to me, like, that I'm just gonna like put this as an example. To me, and I hope this doesn't sound bad, because I really do love Blizzard's art team. It almost feels like one of those situations where it's like, oh, but we did this for these two things, so they can only be this, they have to be this. But I think there's still time to go back on that and just let them be the regular races. Unless, the only thing I could maybe foresee is if the animations or something. But again, I think that's another situation where they don't have to make new animations. Like, just let people look the way they want to in those characters. That's kind of how I feel about it. Just give people that flexibility.
Yeah.
I think that with that, like, I want Gnome Paladin really bad, and I do not care about the mount that they would get. So if at the start we get Gnome Paladin and it's like, okay, for the first little bit, you're just going to be using the default human charger until we make your mount, I am perfectly okay with that. I'm perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I feel like they could. I feel like they could get away with giving the gnome at the start the ram that the dwarves use, because they both live in Dunmoreau. But yeah, no. If it's one of those things where it's like, I do think like the art team, for what it's worth, for like a druid, I understand that. For a paladin, though, I think that's less understandable. They're also like trying to be like, oh, all right. We're kind of getting a little bit off topic, so I'll make this really short. But like, they're trying to respect the lore for certain races. So like, a gnome paladin totally makes sense lore-wise, in my opinion. I'm not gonna fight Dave on that one. Meanwhile,
made a whole
video,
orc, bro.
At orc paladin, that's iffy. I like the idea and concept of Eitrig being like the first of the orcish paladins and carrying on Tyrion's legacy. That sounds badass to me. However, it is clashing a little bit with what the orcs represent, and it'd be a little jarring to see an orc paladin, because it's a very human concept at first. When you think of a paladin, you think of a human paladin, usually. Or you think of a gnome paladin, or something. But I think of
Garrosh.
Paladins are kind of like the most alliance class out there, kind of like how shamans are the most horde class out there. It's, they've fumbled a little bit on that over the years with like the Draenei or whatever, but and with the dwarves becoming shamans, or like Tauren and Blood Elves being paladins. But yeah, no, it's a complicated matter talking about that, and I don't want us to talk too much about that here. But
It's a future
did
podcast
you-
topic.
That's a future podcast topic. I don't want us to linger too much on it, but I do agree that more class combos in general. But anyways, Dave.
Okay. So, going back to what we were talking about, mortal forms for the dragons. Now, I'm of the mindset that the Dracthyr should start off. They should have, obviously, they should have their elves and their humans. Like, you could make the argument that the human form derives from the Vrykul, and the elf forms derive from, elves. There are also other ancient races that existed back when the Dracthyr were being made. So you have the Tauren, you have all the different troll tribes, and the Night Elves. I feel like it would be really good to have these types of homies like represented in the Dracthyr mortal form, because it makes the most sense. Because if Deathwing is taking like different mortals and kind of pushing them together with dragons, he's probably going to take Night Elves, he's going to take Trolls, he's going to take Vrykul to make humans, he's going to take all these different things, and he's going to basically like make them into the Dracthyr. And so only having them represented by two, I feel like is almost like a disservice to like what has been established in their lore. As for the other races, I feel like at the start, they shouldn't be like a gnome or like an orc or like a worgen, let's say, because they don't know about them yet. But over time, you can kind of be like, okay, in 10.2, now you can make your human form look like a gnome, because they have adapted, to their faction of choice. And I feel like that's also another thing where, like, if you pick the Horde, maybe you could have it so like you can be an orc humanoid form, right? But if you picked Alliance, maybe you can be like a night elf or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it would vary from faction to faction, so you would unlock it after. And you know what, Dave? That's a great. I want to just play off that really quick. I love that, actually, right? Like, you start with the initial Dracthyr customization, and that way, lore-wise, it doesn't change anything. And you could just go right to the barber or something if you want to be a night elf or something. You know what I mean? That's a really cool idea. I like that.
I think that's the best way to do it, because it gives everybody like the best of both worlds, essentially.
I honestly, that's basically how I was thinking on it, because like, you have the Dracthyr, they're gonna be joining the Alliance and Horde, which will, I think that's our next faction. Yeah, that is our next question. Don't worry about it too much. But they join the Alliance and Horde, right? And like, what's the best way to represent that you're a part of the Alliance or you're a part of the Horde for these Dracthyr? They're like, oh, there's goblins, there's trolls, there's Tauren, there's orcs. I want to look like one of them to make them feel comfortable, because you're a dragon, like you're a big tall dragon. Deathwing was a thing, and he was terrifying. So let's kind of make them feel at ease by turning into what they're used to. It's very jarring. Very jarring to have a Dracthyr be like, you know what? I'm gonna take the form of a human with an Ogremar. I understand that it's more of an elf appearance. It's like a human with pointy ears, but it looks like a human. And that's gonna be really weird for a Dracthyr to, just come into Ogremar and look like a human. Because you're gonna have orcs, trolls, undead, everyone on edge by taking that form. I was talking about this on Twitter at one point. I was like, I think that the Horde is going to be more comfortable with the dragon form than they are with some of these mortal forms that they're taking on. So that's awkward. I honestly, like, if they just wanted to, like, give basically the lore reason is, like, look, they didn't know what a Draenei and Orc was, and they don't really feel like they could turn on those forms, that's fine. I feel like they're basically being like, all right, when they turn into their mortal forms, it's a very important part for them. So I feel like if they want to stick to the lore of only races they know, then by that logic, Tauren and Trolls should be on the table, as should Pandaren. So
yeah, I think they should be on the table maybe at the start, just because, like, they are the ancient races, essentially.
Yeah. Like, there should be Night Elves, there should be Trolls, there should be Tauren, there should be Pandaren, there should be the ancient races of Azeroth, even Vrykul, as I think you mentioned.
I might... Oh, sorry.
I'm not done, Box!
I'm sorry, Bannerack.
You were off the podcast.
Finally. I'm banning you back to Kunlai Campfire. But yeah. Going back to my train of thought, just it should be the ancient races then. It's really weird to just be like they can only be I think one of the things that's kind of awkward about this too is that's clearly a high elf form. High elves were not a thing back during the War of the Ancients. They were, but they didn't look like this. So by that logic alone, it's already kind of feels like it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like the Dracthyr's mortal forms makes a lot of sense because some of these races weren't a thing yet. Humans weren't a thing yet. The high elves I just mentioned weren't a thing yet. So it feels like depending on their intro, which will be our next question, if it sounds like maybe they'll meet with blood elves and humans and they'll just be like, "Oh, that's what mortals look like now. Okay, we'll take on these forms then."
I feel like the best option, what they could do with the mortal form, is this kind of bleeds into the starting zone question, but you have them start out as just in their dragon form. It's kind of like the opposite of like Worgen. So like with the Worgen starting zone, you started off in your human form and then you became a Worgen afterwards. I feel like it should be depending on what faction you picked. You gain certain customization options. So if you pick Horde, you can go and be like, okay, I'm gonna go look like a Tauren, I'm gonna go look like an Orc, etc., etc. Or if you pick Alliance, you're like, okay, I'm gonna go look like a human, or like a High Elf, or like a Gnome, something like that. And then you only get that option once you are done with the starting zone and you pick your faction. Yeah. I feel like that is the best way to do it and have it make sense.
I like that a lot more too, because it makes sense too. Because like I think they even described it like you're going to unlock your mortal form. It's a really big deal. Like they basically were like the way I believe them saying it. It was like you turning into your mortal form is like a ceremonial event or something. Like it's like
it's like the Crowley short story.
You're tapping into your mortal self, or your mortal self, because Deathwing created you from like blending immortals and dragons together into some weird hybrid. So I don't know. I really would like for them to expand on it. If it's not in this expansion, maybe in the next expansion or in a patch. That would be the best option ever. If they're like, here are Tauren and Trolls. Or honestly, I would love it if they're taking everyone's feedback right now. They're like, yep, we're gonna do Trolls and Tauren too, to make the Horde races make sense. Because
I think it's pretty easy to like take a troll and be like, all right, let's like give him scales and horns.
You already have the Hearthstone dragon, that's a black dragon. Just base it off of that guy. And there's like even like a data mine model of a Tauren dragon that some people think is like Ebonhorn or something, and it just works because you already have the horns. I like the idea of them expanding on the mortal races. Definitely just again, just the ancient races. I think that works, and go from there. I don't think I think that I'm basically on the same page as you guys, really. But
I think one thing, and I'll outright say it. And please forgive me when I say this, because I love the elf races in WoW. Yeah. But I think it's super pandering to just
that too.
Another elf race class. I mean, we've had demon hunters as the last one, and it's really not fair, in my opinion, to other people. Like
that's how I'm feeling about it too. That you mentioned it, Box, because like. I was gonna make probably a Rathian dragon anyways. So like, Yeah, I gotta have your diet Rathian, you know? Because that's what my dragon character was originally based on. It was based on Rathian. So, like, for me, it's not that big of a deal, but at the same time, though, it's like, yeah, I would have liked to have made a, Orc Dracthyr or a Troll Dracthyr. Honestly, a Zandalari Dracthyr would look badass.
God, that sounds so good.
Like
I was saying to you, like I'd like to be like in a
I want
but like a Nightborn one would be cool.
Like,
you know,
yeah, Nightborn would be cool too. There's the options are really limitless, and they're like, the potential is right there in front of them, and they're instead going for more humans and elves, which are the most played race in the Alliance and Horde. So I get why they're doing them, but it's really just, I guess, upsetting when your favorite race isn't that. Because, like, if your favorite race is, say, a gnome, or your favorite race is a Pandaren, or your favorite race is the Mok'Nathal, which, let's be honest here, they probably wouldn't turn to those anyways, but, because Mok'Nathal are too cool for them. It's just kind of upsetting. So I do hope that they kind of, like, rethink on it, and at the very least consider the idea of just letting them play as the normal races, even if it means they don't get scales. I've already heard a lot of people already admit that they don't mind just their mortal races looking like the mortal races. So I think that's probably the easiest way to go if they want to do that. But if they also want to go the extra mile and just add the ancient races, I think that's cool too. So that's my take on it. Let's go to our third question. What would you like to see out of the Dracthyr within not Dragonblight? God, I'm doing that now too. What would you like to see out of the Dracthyr within Dragonflight, and who should lead them per faction? Or should they be led by the dragon aspects and hold no difference in who they join? So basically, if you're a Dracthyr and you look like a bronze Dracthyr, you work for Nozdormu and Nozdormu alone. Kind of like that. Or do you think it should be like a Dracthyr character who's leading the Horde, kind of like G-Firepaw, or another Dracthyr who's leading the Alliance like Asa? What do you guys think?
I'll throw that to Dave first, this one.
You have been hogging the first ones a lot.
God, that means... Oops, sorry.
I get tagged in by Box to answer the first question. What I would like to see out of the Dracthyr. I'm not really sure what I would really want to see out of them, because we don't really know a whole lot besides like a couple lines. I guess, like, I think it would be really neat, which kind of goes into question 4, but I would really like to see, like, how they were created, like how Deathwing did the whole, well, the Tharian did the whole process of, like, making them. I think that would be pretty cool. I feel like their starting zone is really going to be, like, all about, like, finding out who the Dracthyr are and stuff like that. As for who should lead them per faction, I'm not sure if they're going to do the whole, like, one aspect leads this group of the Dracthyr, this aspect leads the other for this faction and that faction, because I'm kind of the mindset that I really feel like what's going to end up happening with the Dracthyr is that we're going to go through their starting zone, and by the end, the aspects are gonna, you know, realize that they are around and that they exist. And because they are experiments and things like that, I feel like they're going to be shunned by the rest of dragonkind, because they're not full dragon, but they're not also full mortal. They're like this weird half-breed cross thing made by a guy who eventually went insane. So I don't know if they're going to be very open to having the Dracthyr around, and I really feel like that's how the Dracthyr are going to be led to join the Alliance and the Horde. So I feel like if anybody's going to lead them, it's probably going to be some important character or characters that we meet during the starting zone for the Dracthyr.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I considered, since they're doing the whole plot with Rathian leading the Black Dragonflight potentially, and maybe he'll be like, maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I don't want to lead the Black Dragonflight. Maybe what they're gonna rotate it into more is Rathian being the leader of the Dracthyr. since Rathian has such a connection with the mortal races, and he's
That's
basically
true.
Deathwing 2.0. So maybe it'll be Rathian. And
Oh,
that
that's
would
a
be-
good point, bro. I didn't
Yeah.
think of that.
I like that a lot, actually.
I think I heard. I don't know if I'm taking this from Twitter or not, because most of my ideas either come from me or come from Twitter.
Oh, yo, I just had a thought. So you know how the rest of like the Dragonflights don't like Rathian?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If they don't like the Dracthyr, the whole point of the Rathian Dracthyr story would be to go out and prove to the dragons that they are worth being the Earth Warders.
Yeah.
There you go.
I like that, and I mean, like, having Rathian as your racial leader would be really cool.
I have a feeling that speculation is going to age very well, Dave. I get the feeling that's going to be it.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I hope that they focus on with Rathian, not to diverge too much from the topic on the Dracthyr, but the fact that Rathian was an experiment by the Reds, and he
Oh,
turned out
yo, that kind of, because he can say, well, I'm too an experiment, as you can see,
yeah,
through the Dracthyr, and oh man, everything lines up for that, bro.
it works out pretty well. I don't know what route they're going to go, but it would be cool if they're at least led by a dragon aspect, and it would be cool if it was Rathian, because Rathian is basically succeeding his father. I know a lot of people want Ebonhorn to be the new black dragon aspect, but Ebonhorn's okay, but I've never really seen him as a leader. I've just kind of seen him as like a wise advisor type of character. So
I think that's how he would probably be. I think he would be an ambassador. I feel like
yeah.
Rathian has all the qualities of a leader, because he's the one that makes all the hard choices.
He does. See, this is what I think is going to happen. And obviously, I want this to happen too. I think that in terms of like this is on topic. That's the Black Dragons. Black Dragons are connected to this. I think Sibelian's gonna show up. I think Sibelian is gonna be like, kid, you don't know what you're doing. I'm gonna be the leader of the Black Dragons. I've suffered on Outlands. I've been cultivating the Nether Dragons or my own whelps, and I'm going to lead our people. I know what Deathwing did. I know what mistakes he made. I'm not going to do them. And like it could be like a course of time, but like it could be like it's revealed that Sibelian is actually still corrupted, and he's just a tool for the old gods, and they free him, and Rathian proves himself, blah 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 blah. Or Sibelian does end up being the leader of the Black Dragons, and Rathian ends up being the leader of the Dracthyr. Either or, I'm down for both, really. I mean, I'm biased because Sibelian is besties with Rexar, and anyone who's bestie with Rexar is cool with me. So I would like that a lot.
I feel like Sibelian, if they do want to use him, I feel like he would be like, we would obviously be allied with Rathian, and then you would have Sibelian and the Nether Drakes and stuff, and it would kind of like culminate probably in like a big duel between them, and that could be used for like a raid tier, where maybe we have to go in and like take out Sibelian so Rathian can become, the Earth Warder.
I just want Sibelian to be saved, though. I don't want him to die, you know?
That's true. I feel like if they use him as a villain, they would have to use him as like, he's not wrong, he's not bad, but he's not on your side, like how he was in the Burning Crusade.
I feel like instead it should be more like a because the Black Dragons have always been portrayed as this corrupted flight that can't really control themselves, even though
so he's like old school dragon essentially.
I feel like it should be more along the lines of stopping him from something he doesn't want to do, then because like Sinestra's still a thing. Sinestra could be corrupting Sibelian, or I still like my theory of her being the one behind Chromatis's resurrection, maybe.
I feel like if they bring Sibelian in, Sibelian would probably be like, they would do the whole new money versus old money. So Sibelian would be old money because he's part of the old Black Dragonflight. Rathian would be new money, and it would if they're going to like ever team up or something, they would probably butt heads a lot, and it would probably end up with Rathian either winning over Sibelian or Sibelian dying. only because Wrathion's whole stick is like, all right, I'm wiping out the black dragons because y'all are corrupt as fuck.
Although Wrathion did find a cure for the corruption, so maybe
is
it's
very
possible.
true.
It is possible that maybe he'd be able to cleanse that from
That's true.
Civilian, which I think would be a good way of showing Wrathion's growth. Because I think one of the things that Steve Denuser was pointing out is the fact that, yeah, Wrathion wiped out his entire Dragonflight that he could find, and that's not gonna sit well with some other dragons. So,
Especially not the aspect of life. Jesus.
well, especially not the Black Dragonflight themselves that are alive still.
That's true.
So, I think that it will reflect really good on Wrathion's character if, like, he's like, hey, I'm not that same little twerp anymore. I can fix you. I'm not going to kill you. I'm going to fix you. And Sibelian could be, like, apprehensive at first and not trusting a kid, because Wrathion's 6 years old. He's a Drake. He's a kid. He can't really...
6-year-old about to lead a faction.
A 6-year-old about to lead a faction, a 6-year-old that pretty much doomed all of Azeroth twice. But
Wrathion, bro.
Wrathion's crazy. I love him though. He's one of my favorite characters they added in Cataclysm. I remember when he was added.
Great.
I was so excited over his whole character. But yeah, there's a lot they could do with Wrathion as a leader, either for the Dracthyr or the Black Dragons. But let's. Oh, you got
Off
something else?
topic. Off
Yeah.
topic. I hope Tong comes back. I love Tong.
The Pandaren Innkeeper.
Yeah.
I honestly
I would love it if he comes over with Wrathion. That'd be great. He's like an advisor.
I want the Black Talon to be a reputation now. I want them to be I want them to be a faction that's working with Wrathion. That'd be so cool. They're basically like former rogues of the Revenholt or the SI7 or like, you know, they're a collective group that work for Wrathion. And we saw them in BFA. They were still working for him. They were all over the place. They were even in Najatar. That was cool. I like that shit. I want the Black Talon now to be a faction. And like you could have like Madame Goya from the Black Market Auction House be a part of it too, because I remember she left with Wrathion to Draenor.
So I went to the wiki page for Tong the Fixer, which is the barkeep in Veiled Stare. In the Legion Alpha, when Ebonhorn didn't exist and the advisor was going to be Wrathion, he was there with Wrathion. Which implies the idea that Tong is like almost an advisor to Wrathion.
I like that.
Which they might play upon, right?
Because they toyed with that idea in BFA, with Wrathion actually taking advice from Lorac Cho and Terran Zoo and applying it to fighting the Black Empire, because the Shadowpan are basically the best militia against Void because they're practiced against the Shah. And Wrathion took that logic and were like, yeah, I think the Shadowpan and their methods are some of the best ways to combat against the Void. He was also like researching in like Dire Maul in ways to use the Void against N'Zoth, which I think that's how Zalatath became a thing. Still really cool. I love those ideas of just Wrathion just growing as a person and showing that he's grown. I'm looking forward to that in Dragonflight. But let's I want to toss this question over to Box since he hasn't answered yet.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say Wrathion now after that whole discussion. But I guess, yeah, like Wrathion would be cool leading them after that. But what I like to see out of the Dracthyr, involvement, actually being used and having a presence, which I'm sure they will. The dragon aspects. I have a feeling there's gonna be one thing where the dragons work as one flight by the end of the expansion.
It has become the Dragonflight, bro. That's why it's named that. Yo.
That seriously, like, that would be cool.
That's why it's not Dragonflight, it's Dragonflight.
I'll be honest here. I am so against that. I really hate the concept because like the Dragonflights are so cool when they're like distinct and unique from one another.
Right.
and I like that they have their own each individual leaders, their own individual like activities, their own areas. Like, I like it when they had the Warmest Accord. Like, the Warmest Accord is cool. But
What if they like rebuild the Warmest Accord?
I wonder if they'll build one on the Dragon Isles.
That's what they'll
right?
probably do, is something like that. I don't think they would dissolve the flights, because like that is like a big part of what makes the dragons cool.
Because like if they're all just under one flight and they just have all unique, distinct abilities and nothing really defines them, like, oh, I'm a bronze dragon, so I can use time magic, but I was still working for Alexstrasza. It's like, but who's cooler when you actually working for something else? I don't know. I'm not against it, like in terms of like just like philosophy. Like, it's just like, we're all one flight, we're not that different, but we're still each a part of our own flights. I like that. I mean, it goes, the whole, one of the things that we were just talking about before the podcast, and I actually still have it recorded in the, one of my OBS's recordings, but we were talking about the whole future of Anduin and how he, you know, he becomes the leader of the Exodar or whatever. He's an old man sitting with Velen, and they're going to fight the Great Nargdus. All this work towards one of the races that was described with working with Anduin was the dragons. So I wonder if we're finally going to see that get fleshed out too. The dragons being united as they are against whatever great threat that they're going to be. I feel like that this is going to help push that narrative into becoming a thing someday. I feel like it.
True.
Is there anything else you wanted to say, Box, about the Dracthyr and their leaders?
Nah, I think you guys pretty much covered it with the Rathian stuff. The Dragonflight thing was interesting to bring up.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. I really wouldn't be opposed to the Dracthyr being led by their own like leaders, like again, like their own kind of like G Firepower Asa. But I do find it more appealing to be led by Rathian and only Rathian. I would say that. Hopefully I don't get too attached to that idea, and then when it doesn't happen, I'll be mad, because that tends to happen sometimes. But I would like that. I think that either or, really.
It happened. Oops. It happened to me multiple times in Shadowlands.
I think what I really want to see is if the Dracthyr are joining the Alliance and Horde, I want to see like a clear difference in like, all right, I'm a Dracthyr and I just joined the Horde. Like, I want to see like I want to see like differences and like the why and the reasons why the Dracthyr wanted to join them. Like, again, the Wandering Isles, I love the Wandering Isles because it shows like the Pandaren like being presented these two factions, and like they're left to kind of think on, okay, which one do I want to join? Because I want that for the Dracthyr. I hope that like they're introduced to the Horde and the Alliance, either through a small group, kind of like on the Wandering Isles. There were a bunch of nobodies. I believe that it was a crashed gunship that was holding Horde prisoners, and the prisoners revolted and escaped, and the Alliance were gonna hunt them down, but they kind of just let them go afterwards. That's kind of weird. Isn't that weird that the Alliance just like, yeah, they were our prisoners, but we're just gonna let them go because they helped us, I guess, with fending off the Sarok. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I just want a clear difference, I guess, with the way the Dracthyr act with the Alliance and Horde. In terms of what I want to see them maybe like do within Dragonflight, I think they are the perfect race and faction to help take down Chromatus if Chromatus shows up. So I kind of hope like Chromatus is their big villain, maybe. Or it's gonna be Galakron Jr., because apparently Deathwing created them to fend off a specific threat. So I think that's a good way to lead into the final question then, unless we have anything else we want to say about the Dracthyr's leader, or what they might do in the expansion.
I do not.
I'm good as well.
Okay, all right. Final question for the podcast. What do you guys think will happen in the starting zone for the Dracthyr?
Would you like to go first, Box?
Sure. So, I think what's most likely going to happen, I actually think there might be flashback moments to modern and current day. I think we'll probably see something about their creation with Deathwing as an homage to Cataclysm and the character, which I think that would be really cool, to be honest. And then, like, kind of exploring ancient Azeroth, but then we get to see the modern aspect. So actually, to go back on that, I think half of it will be in the past, and then you'll be in the modern era, kind of like kind of like the Demon Hunters, where they start on Mardoon and stuff, and then you do the other stuff. So I think that would be cool. I think basically just stuff with Deathwing, and then maybe Rathian. Who knows? But yeah, I know that's kind of vague, but I'm not too sure at the moment where they're probably going to be starting and what they're going to be doing.
Yeah. I mean, we don't really have too much information besides what we were given, but I agree with most of that, really. What about you, good old Dave?
I agree. I really think that they're going to do like a Demon Hunter situation where the Demon Hunter situation it started back in the Burning Crusade. I feel like this time around, though, it's going to be 10,000 years in the past during the War of the Ancients. And we're going to see the Dracthyr. We're probably going to get their origins and stuff. And I do feel like we're talking about like the ancient threat or their sworn enemy that Deathwing created them to stop. I feel like we're also going to kind of find out who that was during the starting zone. At least in the first half. What's probably going to end up happening is if the Dracthyr end up fighting that threat, because personally to me I feel like it's the I don't know their names, but they're like the ogre looking guys from the reveal. Do you know what I'm talking about? They like briefly mentioned them as like it's like a sworn enemy of the dragons that they used to fight all the time. I don't know their name.
I do kind of remember. I remember what they look like.
Hold on, let me look up the Dragon Isles here, because I feel like what's going to end up happening is that they're going to fight the Jaredin. That's their name. We're going to end up having the Dracthyr fight against the Jaredin, and they're probably going to get pretty close to defeating the Jaredin or something. And then what's going to end up happening is that something is going to trigger, and the dragons are like, all right, we need to shut off the Dragon Isles. We're going to close it off. And so probably before any of the other flights really know that the Dracthyr exist, they're going to be shut off and closed off onto the Dragon Isles for 10,000 years, and then they're going to reawaken in the present day, and then the rest of the starting zone is going to play out. It's likely that they'll probably end up beating the mortals, probably the other aspects and stuff, and the aspects are going to come to find out that they exist. The Dracthyr are going to learn that Deathwing became Deathwing, etc., etc., and then you're probably going to, if, like what I was saying before, if the dragons do end up either exiling you, or maybe Rathian shows up to unite the Dracthyr because no other of the Dragonflights want you, then you'll probably go and pick your faction, and I think that's where the starting zone will probably end. And then you will probably jump back into the Dragon Isles, because I think since they're a hero class, technically speaking, I think they're starting at what, like 68, or not 68, 58? Yeah.
They're starting out at the same level that Death Knight started out, I believe.
Yeah, and then they jump straight into Dragon Isles, which I think that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, they even said that we're gonna go back to their starting zone too, sometime in the later patches, kind of like a Isle of Thunder sort of deal.
Maybe then that they're gonna seal off the ancient threat, and that ancient threat's gonna awaken, and that'll be where they awaken from. It'll be like a Zulaman situation, you know?
Yeah, maybe. I definitely think that they're definitely going to be jumping back and forth between the past and the present. I think that's a brilliant way of storytelling, and it's really cool when they did it with the Demon Hunters.
I think it fits.
It's kind of jarring to the fact the Demon Hunters and the Dracthyr are so similar in so many ways, and they're the most recent class, so it's kind of weird, but I mean, at the
I
very
feel like
least,
people will probably complain about it, but I mean, if the story's good, I don't
and
really
the
mind
story
it.
is good. I mean, it's Deathwing. Like, come on, like, it's Deathwing instead of Illidan, and it's Deathwing before he went crazy. So that's gonna be a cool concept to work with. Like, it's just Deathwing making the Dracthyr, and he's just like, "Hey, what's up? What's up, my I'm excited because I feel like if they open up with a cinematic with him interacting with us, and it's just like that. I wonder if that means we're gonna get a pre-corrupted Deathwing model then.
Man, that'd be crazy.
I want that so bad now, because
That would be sick.
he basically just looks like Rathian, but as a dragon.
'Cause I don't think we've ever really seen the mortal form of Deathwing when he was
Oh, you think
uncorrupted.
you think he's gonna become a mortal form when he interacts with us?
Maybe. I feel
kinda,
like that's a possibility.
I kind of wanted to be a dragon the whole time.
I mean, they did say that we're going to the Dragon Isles. And Dragon Isles is very primal because it's like, you know,
Yeah.
it's almost like the interim between the dragons we know and the proto drakes and the proto dragons.
Yeah, yeah.
So I feel like they're gonna be a mix in between, and they probably won't have a human form. That is true.
Yeah, because, like, this is before the, I mean, dragons know how to do it, but, like, I don't really think it became a popular thing until after the War of the Ancients. I don't really remember. I mean, there might have been Krasus, but... Krasus time traveled, though, so it's kind of... Anyways, yeah, I think that there'll be a big involvement with Deathwing at the start. I think that'll be really cool to have Deathwing, like... That's just such a really cool concept. I love that, because Deathwing's, like... I think Deathwing's one of the most underrated Warcraft villains. Because, like, he literally was right after Wrath of the Lich King, and, like, he's never had a Warcraft 3 campaign, ever. So, like...
True.
I think Deathwing gets slept on, and I'm so happy they bring him back constantly within WoW's story, even if it's like past events. Like they did it in Legion, they did it in Shadowlands, they did it in slightly in BFA, but not really. It was more like just mentioning him briefly through Rathian's mouth. They did it in Mist of Pandaria, which was literally the expansion after Cataclysm. They didn't have to do that, but they did it. I don't know, I love it when they do that, and I like the idea of, like, Deathwing, like, commanding you and giving you, like, orders, kind of like how Illidan does with the Illidari, and the Lich King does with the Death Knights. I like that. I really think that's a cool concept, and I'm glad they brought it back with Deathwing, and that Deathwing is literally your maker, so, like, Deathwing is your dad.
I went and looked at the time of the War of the Ancients. I think I just cut out. I saw my Discord go red for a minute.
You cut out big time.
Okay. Luckily, we have Audacity. But as I was saying...
That is true. I don't know what you said at all, though.
All right. As I was just getting to, I just started talking, so...
Oh, okay. I went on for a rant there, so...
Yeah, I know. I waited until you were done.
Okay.
I went and read on the wiki, and around the time of the War of the Ancients, that's when Neltharion was already hearing the whispers of the old gods. And he was doing stuff with the Dragon Soul. So it's possible that we might see in the starting zone something to do with Neltharion basically being like, all right, we got to go get the Dragon Soul. We got to do something with the Dragon Soul and the Burning Legion, which is also a possibility where maybe the Burning Legion lands on the Broken Isles, or not the Broken Isles, the Dragon Isles.
The Dragon Isles,
and so the first half of the Dracthyr starting zone is fighting the Burning Legion, which I think that'd be pretty cool.
That'd be cool. I like that. I mean, that would be if we're talking already about how much they feel like the Illidari. Oh no. That'd be kind of cool.
That is true.
I feel like it's gonna be. I know the Jarden is one of the big factors of the threats that hate the dragons, but I actually think it's gonna be the primordial proto dragons that are the threats that the Dracthyr are in charge of. Because
didn't they lock them away or something?
Yeah, they did. I believe so.
Maybe then that'll be it.
I think that's it, because they're the followers of Galakrond, and Deathwing is familiar with Galakrond because he fought him when he was just a baby proto dragon. not a baby proto-dragon, literally, but when he was a proto-dragon, he fought Galakrond. It was a tough battle. They prevented any other Galakrons from being made. And I think that's very interesting because, like, you think Deathwing would want to become Galakrond with the way he was going, but he didn't. He never went full Galakrond. He never ate other dragons. He never did any of that stuff. So I feel like for even Deathwing, it's personal not to do that stuff. So I feel like he created the Dracthyr to ensure that a Galakrond would never be remade. Because I feel like that's what the followers of Galakrond would do. I feel like they would want to become just like their god, their daddy. So I feel like that's what the Dracthyr are going to be faced with, and they fail. I feel like they're going to fail. I feel like the primordial pro-dragons are going to escape, and the Dracthyr are going to be like, well, shit. And then the Aspects will show up and be like, what the heck are you? And the Dracthyr will be like, we're the Dracthyr, we're created by Deathwing. And then the Aspects will be like, oh no. And maybe like the Horde and the Alliance will be already like affiliated with them, and they'll prevent the Dragon Aspects from wiping them out because, when the first interactions with the Dracthyr are, oh yeah, we were made by Deathwing, I don't think that's going to go well with them. And I do believe they did say that the Dragon Aspects have no idea that the Dracthyr are a thing. I do believe they said that. So,
which I feel like, going back to the stuff we were talking about, Wrathion stepping in and being like, all right, I'm going to vouch for the Dracthyr, but y'all are going to work with me. I feel like that's probably going to happen. None of the other Dragonflights really like them. Wrathion will probably see the opportunity to kind of like, essentially like build out a new Dragonflight from them.
I wonder if we'll see, because we got Felsworn Eladari, right? I wonder if we're going to get like an evil group of Dracthyr that want to continue Deathwing's work, or worse, they want to work for the best creation of Deathwing / Neltharion, Chromatis. I think that'd be a really cool thing if the Dracthyr joined the Chromatic Dragonflight, maybe.
There's also the idea that like maybe Deathwing or Neltharion, he's going to be giving like very like controversial orders to the Dracthyr. Half of them are going to be like, I don't know about this. The other half are going to be like, yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
And maybe, yeah.
I know somebody brought up a point that they think that maybe Deathwing left them contingency plans in case Deathwing did ever die. And some people think that the Dracthyr might bring Deathwing back. I don't know how much that's possible, but it would be interesting. I don't think it's going to happen, but hey, I'm not against Deathwing coming back. I know that's a weird, that's a controversial point. I think as long as he's like, nah, I'm done being Aspect, that stuff sucked, that's fine. If he's like, I don't know, if it'd be kind of cool, but at the same time though, I'm kind of okay with them being like, Deathwing's done, but his past is still important.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Burning Legion. The Burning Legion's done, but like, there's still effects and echoes.
I mean, even the Legion will probably come back though. It's just
it wouldn't be the Legion. It would, just
no, it's not the same because we defeated the Legion that was at its peak of power. Yeah, but I think that we're going to get a Wandering Isles / combo of Mardoom with the Dracthyr, which I think is probably the best combination you could do, with maybe even a little inklings of what the Ebon Blade were doing at the start.
You know, it would be fucking nutty.
What?
Because the Dracthyr wield the powers of the different flights. Because they wield the power of the Black Dragonflight. How crazy would it be if the old gods started whispering to you at some point during the expansion?
Yo. I mean, I don't think we even talked about that, but do you guys think that there's going to be an old god
there's gotta be. If we are dealing with, if there are titans, there are old gods. That's just how it works.
Yeah, I know we had an old god break in with Shadowlands. Now we're back on Azeroth. Let's get back to old gods.
Imagine if it's just like N'Zoth starts whispering you, like it's his voice, like, and it cements the fact that, hey yo, he ain't dead.
N'Zoth,
that'd be dope. That'd be incredible.
I'm saying N'Zoth is in that dagger. That's my guess. If he shows up, if the dagger shows up on the Dragon Isles, red flag.
Who has the dagger currently?
Nobody. It disappeared after Wrathion used it.
I couldn't remember if it either
it went,
vanished or if Rathian had it. Because if Rathian had it,
it exploded, and Rathian checks his hand for it, and it's not there, and he's surprised. And then he looks back at the carapace of N'Zoth, and then it shows up, and he's like, "All right, let's fight." So Rathian doesn't. Rathian, they put so much attention to the fact that the dagger disappeared. It makes my brain go like, something's going on with that.
We'll have to do a podcast about that.
We do. We'll save it. But yeah, I think that there's going to be some level of old god threat from the Dragon Isles, and the Dracthyr might have to face it. And I think it'd be really cool if we have some corrupted Dracthyr enemies and shit, or like Dracthyr joining with like corrupted black dragons or something, or Sinestra, because Sinestra's ghost is still out there. She's doing something. You also have Chromatis, which I feel like if the Dracthyr hear about Chromatis, they'll get giddy and excited and be like, "Oh, it's our brother! Let's free him!" And like the other dragons are like, "No, he's evil." I'm obsessed with Chromatis. I'm sure that's apparent. But yeah, I think that's it. Unless we want to say anything else about it.
I do not. I have nothing else to really add that should probably be saved for a future podcast.
Yeah, we gotta talk about old gods at some point.
I think I'm all good too.
Okay. All right. I'm sweating like buckets right now because it's really hot and I have my air conditioner turned off for the podcast. So I am going to do our outro then. All right. Okay. I want to thank Mr. Dave and Boxamus for joining me today, and I hope you catch us all again next time for our next topic. Probably going to be old gods, I'm guessing. You can find both Boxamus and Mr. Dave over on their YouTube channels, as well as their social media, which you can find also in the description. If you guys have
only cool people follow me.
This is true. I follow him, so I'm cool by default. If you guys have any questions for us, feel free to give us a tweet or a message, or message us into the comments. I'll do my best to address them in our next podcast, like we did for Antonio Jones.
Shout out.
Yeah, he's awesome. King right there. I'll do my best to address them in our next podcast if you do, though. So I hope you all have an awesome day, and I'll see you guys next time. And always remember, for the Horde. Oh
yeah. For the Alliance.
Yeah, there it is.
And for Zoval. Thank you for watching, everyone.
How dare you? Okay. See you guys.
Bye.